guys, so today I'm gonna teach you how to make your own homemade hot cross buns at home. So this is an orange flavored cross buns. So I added some orange zest and it has lots of raisins as well. It's a yeast bread recipe. Normally this is an Easter bread, but you can definitely make this at home any time of the year. So let me show you how I made this. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is to activate the yeast. So I have here a warm milk. Make sure that the milk is warm. It should be about 105 degrees Fahrenheit because you don't want to burn the yeast. And if it's too cold, then it will also not activate. And then I'm just adding sugar in the warm milk because the yeast feeds on sugar, so it helps activate the yeast. And then I have now here the yeast. I'm just gonna add it and stir, and we're going to leave it for about like 5-10 minutes or until it starts to foam up. So if your yeast doesn't form that foam, then that means probably there's something wrong with the yeast. So don't continue because this is a very crucial stage. If you continue, your bread could probably be dense and heavy because it will not rise properly. So we're gonna leave this for I would say 10 minutes, and then when I come back I'm gonna show you how it looks like when it foams up at the top. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do now is to soak the raisins. So I have here raisins that I already chopped. I like chopping the raisins because it's when it's smaller, it doesn't dry out the bread too much. So chop it, and then we're just going to transfer it in a bowl. Then we're going to add some orange juice. So the reason why we're doing this is because we want to hydrate the raisins because these are dried raisins, and sometimes they could actually absorb the moisture of the bread, and that will make the bread like dry. So just mix this, and we're just going to microwave this just to soften it. Okay, so I had this microwave for a minute, and you can not sure if you can really see it, but it's softened. So we're going to leave this for now just to keep on soaking, and then we're going to mix our dough. Okay, so back to our yeast. So now we're going to add our melted butter and the egg. And we're just going to mix this. I'm using a stand mixer. You can also do this hand mixer using your dough attachment, or you can do it manually. Okay, so and then we're just going to mix this just enough to break the egg. Okay, so now that we've added all the wet ingredients, now we can go and add our dry ingredients. So let's start with adding, I'm just adding the sugar, the nutmeg, the cinnamon, and the salt. If you don't have nutmeg, you can add more cinnamon, or if you have an allspice seasoning, you can also use that. So that's like a warm fall spices blend. And then we're going to add the flour. So you can use bread flour. I actually like using bread flour more because it gives a nice chewy texture. Bread flour has a higher protein content, which means to say it also have like a better gluten formation. And when you have the better gluten formation, you have like a chewy texture. So if you've noticed, I'm using my my hook attachment here. And once it gets mixed out all, I'm just going to change it to my dough attachment. I find that it's easier to blend it together, at least just for the start. Okay, and now I'm adding the orange zest. So You can use zest from one large orange or two small ones. So I like a stronger orange flavor. And then we're just going to knead this about 8-10 minutes until the dough comes together. Okay, now we're going to add the raisins. So just remove the excess juice, if any. If your raisins is really dry, you would not have too much juice left. You'll be able to use entirely everything. So you can add the raisins as well when you add all the flour and the spices. Okay, so this has been kneading for 8 minutes. Let's see. So the good measure of a nice dough is when you have a soft texture dough, and the size of the ball is like slightly kind of clean, while the bottom of the at the bottom of the bowl, the bread dough is still sticking like this one. So you see, I'm just gonna remove this. So it's kind of like stretchy and soft. So that's how you want it. Let's remove this one. Okay, so that you can see it easily, so I just remove it from the mixer. So this is how the dough should look like. So the measure would be, you want it to be like sticky. It's going to be a sticky dough. So that's okay. That's how we want it to be, because that will give a nice moist, chewy bread. So I'm just going to show you, because this is very important to tell if you made the dough right. So you see how sticky it is? Actually, it's sticking at the bottom. So that's how you want it. Okay. So that's how we want the dough to be, right? And then we're just going to transfer it in a bowl. And we're going to spray the bowl with oil. This is just to avoid sticking. You can also spray your hands with some dough so that when you handle it, it's not going to stick in your hand. But okay. Just take it out. And make sure to scrape the bowl to get all the dough that you can. Perfect. So you see how soft it is, and it's kind of stretchy. Yeah, so it's a sticky dough, but this is going to make a really nice, soft, chewy bread. So when you oil your hands as well, it doesn't stick. Look at this. So it's easy to handle. Do that. You can also use flour, but I find that oiling your hands is much easier. It works better. And besides, you're oiling the bowl anyway. So okay. So we're going to leave this in a warm place. Keep it snug and just have it rest. Then let's just cover it and leave it into a warm place, and when I come back, I'm gonna show you how it looks like. Okay, so this is now our dough after resting 1 hour. So it's sticky at the bottom, so that's good. We're just gonna flip it in the board. And then I just have some extra flour because this is going to be a sticky dough to work on. Just so have it lined with parchment paper so that's easier to remove later so it doesn't stick. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to leave this again for another hour for the second rise, and then we're going to put some flour on top like the X mark, and then we're going to bake it and leave it in a warm place. Okay, so let's make our flour paste. This is the one that we're going to use to cross the top of the cross buns. So this is just a flour and water. Okay, so after the rest period, you will see that the bread has already puffed up. So if your bread is not puffed up or it didn't double in size, it's probably the yeast is not that new or it's close to expiry. What you can do is to extend the rest period for another an hour or an hour and a half until you see that it's almost like double in size. So don't bake it if you see that it's not yet fully pop off. So that could be an effect of the yeast if it's not proofed properly or if it is like a little bit older. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put the flour paste mixture that we made earlier. So I transferred it in a Ziploc bag, and what you want to do is to just snip the end, not too big, just enough like this. And then we're going to put it on top. So you're just going to make a line like so. Like this. Okay. I find that this is the easiest way to do it. That's the oven already preheated at 350 Fahrenheit, and we're going to bake this for about 25 minutes until the top turns brown. So just pay attention. If it browns easily, just cover the top with foil. Okay, so this is now our orange hot cross buns. It's ready for baking, so let's bake it. Okay, so this is now our baked hot cross buns. So I had this baked at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 to 23 minutes. So just check on 20 minutes. When it starts to brown too quickly, you can cover the top with aluminum foil. So maximum about 23 minutes. So the next thing that we're going to do is you can serve this as is, but I like to spread some butter on top. I feel that it gives a nice texture and taste. So we're just brushing the top with some butter before serving. I find that it's better with butter. But if you want to skip the butter, that's okay too. But I feel that it makes the presentation better because it gives a nice glossy top. Plus, butter makes the bread taste better. So we're going to let this, we're gonna let this rest for few minutes. I would say 15-20 minutes. Do not cut it immediately because the remaining heat will still cook the bread. Otherwise, it will be kind of wet and gooey inside or like underbaked, and you don't want that. Okay, so let's just have this rest for a few more minutes and then we'll try one. Okay, so this is now our finished product. So I had it last for about 15 minutes just to let it cool. So we're going to release it from the baking dish. So just run a spatula around. It should release easy because we have a parchment paper at the bottom. And then I'm just gonna flip this. There you go. And then we're going to remove the parchment paper. And then we're going to flip it back again, just so you can see it. So as you can see, it's actually it's really soft. See? Okay, so let's give this one a try. Oh man, I can feel how soft it is. You see this? See how soft it is? Yep, it's really soft. So if you open it up, oh, there you go. So I hope you guys will give this a try, and until next time, bye.